Yes, welcome to GarageBand Weekly for yet another week here on Studio Live today, live and on location here at the beach. And when I thought about the idea of doing a show from the beach at sunrise, I didn't really think about how dark it actually is at sunrise. It's not until the sun has actually risen that you actually have enough light to be able to see things. So I am here. I've found the one light source under this gazebo. It is far from perfect, but that is okay. And it actually relates into what we're going to talk about in my rant of the week today. But before that, we've got a bunch of stuff to get through. We've got some news and notes. We'll be talking about the potential for a port-free iPhone coming in the future, maybe. We'll be talking about managing files and backing up, that important but very boring topic. Plugin of the week will be a cool one, and the resource of the week as well will be something that you may want to check out if you're getting into recording on your mobile device. Uh, if you are here live and you have questions or comments as we go along, please leave those down below. There will be some background noise. Hopefully it's nice and ambient and not distracting, but we'll see how we go. We've already had already had a weird little buggy that's been driving up and down the boardwalk here. So, and the planes start taking off this time of day here in Adelaide. So there could be a bunch of things going on, but that's all right. We're just going to carry on and get happening. And towards the end of the show, I'll also, by then, that we should have a nice full-on sunrise over there. So I'll spin around and we'll show you where I am and some of the scenery that we have around. That's always fun, isn't it? A man holding a laptop, like perched and clunky. But for now, let's jump in to the news and notes. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is something that's getting a bit of traction in the mobile world and has had a lot of people commenting on, and that is whether ports are going away. And I talked about this briefly last week about whether we would lose the Lightning port in lieu of a USB-C port. And I actually got sent some links to some articles that not only say that Apple will skip USB-C entirely with its iPhone range, but it will go straight to a port-free iPhone. Now, before you freak out, this is all speculation and rumor and third-hand information. It's not directly from Apple. They haven't said this, but it is a little bit of a concern because if you look at the history of Apple products and how many ports they used to have, in fact, I was watching a Steve Jobs presentation the other day, and he was talking about like one of the early MacBooks, and he was talking about all the connectivity it had. He's like, it's got FireWire, it's got USB 1.1, because that's what it was back then. It's got a 10 base T like Ethernet port. It's got all of these ports and connections and ways to connect up to stuff. And then if you look at it now, 20 years later, it's the exact opposite. This has virtually no ports. So is that the way of the future? Will we see iPhones with no ports? And what does that mean for creators? If you can't get a wired connection in to send audio, to send data, is wireless going to get to the point where it is good enough? Will you just have a wireless pad in the future that you just dump your iPhone on, it connects everything up wirelessly, and you can still record with no latency or low latency? I don't know. As with most things, change is scary, and if you're someone like me that loves plugging stuff into other stuff, not having the flexibility and having those ports to plug into, yeah, it doesn't sound like fun times, just personally, but we shall see. It's an interesting topic and one worth covering as well. I talked in the last week about bugs with plugins, and issues causing your audio to cut out when you're using it in GarageBand, specifically in iOS, but similar sorts of things can happen in other DAWs. Now, I mentioned that Stark was one of the ones that was causing a problem, and another user contacted me and said, yep, Stark is definitely causing me problems too. And they mentioned that they had raised a ticket, and Klevgrand, who makes Stark, have actually come back and said, yep, we've actually got a fix coming for that in the next update, next version of Stark. There'll be a fix for this audio cutout problem. So there you go. It is not just a problem with GarageBand and with the iPhone and the iPad. It sounds like it's something a little bit more widespread with some of these apps. And whenever there's a problem with an app, it's hard to tell, is it chicken or the egg? So did they make an AU, the audio unit version of an app, or an inter-app audio version of an app, and then the iOS got updated and their app is now no longer relevant? Or is it the other way around, that they should have done differently with the code to begin with to make sure that it works out? I know there's some developers who do watch the show. So if you have if Fred Anton Corvest or any of the other plugin developers are out there, maybe let us know. I'd love to hear from you. How hard is it to keep up with those changes, and how do you manage those sort of changes when you are developing software? It must be a bit of a cat and mouse kind of game sometimes, trying to keep up with what's going on. third note for this week, and this is actually something that I want your help with, and that is I get a lot of questions about GarageBand for Mac, and one of the biggest questions I get is what is the minimum specification? So if you are razor thin budget, what is the minimum specs that you would recommend that we run using that we have to run GarageBand? And I don't know because I don't currently own a Mac. I know big GarageBand guy, big iPhone and iPad guy doesn't own a Mac. Seems a bit weird, but it's true. So if you are a Mac user and if you're watching this, let me know, what do you think the minimum specs would be for a Mac to be able to record in GarageBand? And let's assume that you want to record up to 16 or 32 tracks. You want to mix, you want to master. What's your go-to? What's your recommendation? Obviously, you could say latest Mac Pro, latest MacBook Pro, but what would you actually go for if you could have that? We've got we've got a comment here. So apparently, SM Borthwick said, I just updated Stark yesterday. Was that the bug fix you're talking about? Because I haven't been creating music for a few days, it may be. So perhaps they have already patched that and got that done. Very, very cool. And SM Borthwick also says an interview with an app developer would be cool. Yeah, I'd just love to hear about that, because there's a few things about app development that interest me. Number one is, how do you actually keep up with Apple, and how do you make sure that your app is compatible and remains compatible? And number two is, how do you manage the expectation of free versus paid? Because an app developer, like to develop an app, would take a lot of time, would take a lot of effort, and it wouldn't be free for you to do that work. Yet the expectation in the music creation community, and I know this because if I put out a video and I say free plugin, it'll get like 1,000 views. If I put out a video that says plugin for $4.99, it'll get 100 views because people want free. Free is appealing, free is cool. And I do believe that some plugins should be free sometimes, but I also don't believe that all things should be free all the time. What good developers do is they put out either demo versions or they put out some free plugins. So Negrini Audio at the moment are doing a great job with this. They've got 4 plugins that are completely free. They've got their noise gate, their delay, their cleaner plugin, and their amp sim. But then they've got their reverb, and they've got a bunch of other plugins that are paid. So you can basically get a taste for what they're doing and then buy a bunch of other plugins if you find them really cool. So that is something to keep in mind. Hello to the other folks who are here live, by the way. Hello, Battalion58, who a little late but just made it. Todd Andrews just arrived. Love the background. Thank you, my friend. And DG Flo is here as well. We've got some other folks. We've got Jade Starr, Darren Anderson, Bubba is here, GJ Halstead, and Benedict Stewart, Alex Ruckus. If any of you have questions, you know how to go about that. Throw those in. We've already got a couple sitting there. What I'll do is I'll dive into the next section, and then we will come on back, because what I want to talk about, and it's related to where I'm sitting. So if you're just joining us here live or you're watching on the replay, I'm here at the beach. It is sunrise. There's a beautiful sunrise happening over there that will start improving the lighting that we have here, because it started off a bit dark. This will be a fun one to watch back and do it like in fast forward, because it'll go like almost pitch black to, by the time I finish, it'll probably be bright sunshine. It'll be kind of fun. But yeah, what I was talking about, my rant of the week this week is, I find that a lot of folks use can't instead of can. And how does this relate to GarageBand? Well, what you can't do in GarageBand, the list of things you can't do in GarageBand, if you look at it from that perspective, may seem long. But what is also true is that the list of things you can do in GarageBand is probably longer. And the two interrelate in this way, in that if you can't do something in a certain way, there's usually a way that you can do it if you put your mind to it. So I thought about this because here at the beach, and we were driving some little pedal carts yesterday, little go-karts that you have to push around, you have to pedal around. And I was riding along, and one of my daughters said, I can't steer this, it's too hard. I can't pedal this, it's too hard. And I thought to myself at the time, I'm like, yeah, it is challenging, isn't it? And I said to her, so what you're saying is you can't pedal the go-kart. Well, what can you do? Well, you've got a couple of options. You can keep trying because you might get there. You can try another method. You can ask for assistance. And I thought that's an exact metaphor over to creating music, is that if you say, I can't get a good vocal sound, what you're actually saying is the one thing that I'm trying to do right now is not creating the vocal sound that I want. What you're actually saying by I can't get a good vocal sound is I need to try some other techniques to get a good vocal sound, or I need to ask someone for some assistance to get a better vocal sound in my recordings. So to me, if we flip things around, if we take the can't and turn it into a can, then it actually changes up the conversation because you're focusing. I know it's like the whole glass half empty, glass half full. You're like, yes, Pete, we get it. Cliches are great. But if you think about what you can do and then what questions you need to ask to get to that next stage, that's going to help. And it's the same with people that haven't used GarageBand for a while. They like to say, GarageBand can't be connected to an audio interface. I'm like, well, yes, it can. You just need a Lightning to USB adapter. GarageBand can't use good quality microphones. Well, yes, it can. In fact, it now has the same level of audio quality as a Mac does. So, yeah, that's just something that was been bugging around in my head, and I thought I would use as my rant of the week for this week because, yeah, if we focus on what we can't do, there's going to do a few things. You're not going to achieve as much, and you're going to get super frustrated and down on yourself at the same time. If you flip it around, flip it on its head, and work out what you can do, certainly going to help you out a lot better as well. Let's jump in here before we get to our tip of the week. Let's chat to the folks who are here live. I think I've got some questions here. We've got Glenn Clark, who is tuning in from across the Tasman. Is that? No, that's not the Tasman. Which way am I facing? No, he's the other direction. That if I swam that way, I'd have to do a big loop around the bottom of the country, and then eventually I'd hit New Zealand and say good day to Glenn. Hello to Plaid Dog. Good to have you here. And Metallica says positivism is the key. Yeah, so as usual, the Studio Live Today community have taken my 5-minute rant and turned it into one sentence. Yes, be positive. Always look on the bright side of life, as Monty Python would say. Now, DF Glow has had this question and answer here, so I'll to this. So, music versus root note or route note, whatever you want to say it as, which is best? So, I haven't used root note or route note to release. I believe it is similar to Amuse. I believe it's a free distribution platform where you can release your music to different platforms and it doesn't cost you anything to do. Amuse is the same. Amuse has a cool mobile app. You upload your WAV file, you upload your album artwork, and then you can release it to Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and all the rest. Okay, we had a quick little glitch there, but we are back on track. We were talking to folks here we just talked to DF Glow around Amuse and Route Note, and I was just saying that I need to check out and compare those services to see which one is going to be the best. So watch out for a video on that really soon. Sion has a tip here as well. Says there's currently a really cool app called Firo 4 that is free before the price increases to $20. There you go. A great tip there from Sion. Thank you. Always love the tips from you and from other folks here. I'll just see if we've got any other questions, and then we will get back into it. Yep, I think we're good. I think we're caught up. Battalion says 4G gone, gear gone, gaga. Yes, gear did go gaga just for a minute there, but we are back in action. So let's move on while we still have a connection. Let's continue on with the show. Right, my tip of the week. Our tip of the week this week is around backing up and file transferring. Now, I get a question probably once a week that goes along the lines of this. It says, Pete, I had all of these projects saved on my iPhone or my iPad or my Mac, and I opened GarageBand today and they're all gone. What do I do? And you can probably predict what my first response to that is. Have you backed up? Are you using iCloud Drive? Have you backed up your files at any time recently? And if there's someone who has followed my advice in the past, they go, oh, yes, of course. They're all backed up on iCloud Drive. They log back into their iCloud Drive. Everything pops straight back up. They are good to go. The challenge is that for some folks, and look, I say some folks, I have done this before. I have created songs and put them just on my iPad device or on my iPhone device and then completely lost them. It is not fun and it makes you feel really bad. So please do what I say and not what I do. And that is, if you are creating on your iPhone or iPad, there are two different locations that you can save to. One is your on my iPhone or on my iPad location. The other is iCloud Drive. Now, on my iPhone, on my iPad is okay. You can create there, you can save there. It is only saved to your iPhone or iPad. So yes, it does get backed up if you do a full backup of your phone or your iPad, but very few people do that these days. If you want to make sure that any of the projects you save here are saved on your iCloud Drive for backup purposes all the time, use the iCloud Drive location. Now, here's the rub. there's only a limited amount of storage on your iCloud drive. It's 5 gigabytes, I think, off the top of my head, if you are on the free plan. So you may be thinking, that's not enough space for all my songs. So here's what you need to do. If you are creating songs and you've used up all your storage space and you're like, I can't back up anymore, then take your oldest projects, zip them up, so compress them into a zip file, and then copy them over to something like Google Drive, to Dropbox, to OneDrive, to Box.net. There's a bunch of different free storage, cloud storage platforms. Google Drive is the best because you get, again, I think another 10 gigabytes to use there. And once you've zipped them up, they'll just be individual projects and individual zip files. They'll be compatible with everything. Problem is that the .band project files aren't compatible with things like Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, things like that. So there is the solution for that. Use your iCloud Drive where you can. That'll be automatically backed up. And the good part about that is if you record on your iPhone and then you grab your iPad, you can transfer it across straight away. So it'll always be backed up on all your devices and in the cloud, which is cool. If you don't run out of space or you want another option, zip up your project files, put them over to a cloud storage platform, and you won't ever have to send that email of shame where you contact me and say, I lost all my stuff, lost all my projects, they're all gone, they're never coming back. Because the sad answer is, yeah, they don't come back. If they're just on the storage of your device, on your iPhone or iPad, and something goes wrong, you delete your app crashes, they're gone, and they're gone pretty much for good. There's been very low success rates for people getting their stuff back. Now, if you're on a Mac, you can use pretty much the same concept, like the same sort of deal. Like if anything that's saved on one location, saved in one hard drive, saved on one phone, you are at the mercy of things going wrong. And if I wanted to get really technical, I would say this, which is something is not backed up until it's backed up twice. So if you've got the original version and a backup, that's good, but an original version and 2 backups is better. Now, yeah, if you're in the habit of not backing up at all, you're probably not going to do 2 backups. But the thing is, if you don't count the original version as a backup, the only backups are ones that are external to your actual device. I hope that helps you out. Let's continue on. We've got a couple more things and then we'll finish up here. So plugin of the week. Now, I've mentioned this a couple of times and I may have even made it the plugin of the week, but I've been playing with it again this week. And it is so cool that we have free plugins that can do so much. And the free plugin I'm talking about again is RoughRider 3. Yes, the name that my wife chuckles at every time I say it. But RoughRider 2 was already good and available on Mac and iPad and iPhone. RoughRider 3 just takes it to the next level. The control that you get and some of the cool features that you can play with, if you're not familiar with it, RoughRider 3 is a compressor plugin, so it can help sort of boost the levels. It can help give you a more even performance. It's great on things like drums. It's great on guitars and vocals, even your whole mix if you want to add a little bit of something. So yeah, it's just a great plugin that you can use to really enhance your tracks. And the beauty part is it is free. I did speak earlier in the show about free plugins and why free seems to be so attractive to people. But yes, Audio Damage's free plugin, which is called RoughRider 3. And originally it had a small issue with the interface in that it didn't line up perfectly on GarageBand. And there was actually a funny tweet from Klevgrand just saying something along the lines of, yes, we know, we've got it. You can stop emailing us now. You can stop commenting and telling us that there's a problem. And yeah, it would be tough. Back to that talk about being a developer, it would be pretty tough if you're putting out a free product and then you were getting a bunch of criticism because the interface didn't line up exactly on someone's particular model of iPhone. But that being said, yeah, quality is quality. People want what they want, and yeah. I don't begrudge people for wanting things to be good, especially from a company like Audio Damage. They make so many good things. They've set the bar super high for themselves. So that is probably what folks are thinking. They're like, well, they do things so well. We can ask them for more. Alrighty, let's move into our final. Move into the final topic, and then if anyone here live has any further questions or comments, please throw them in the chat. Sorry for the folks who are here live for the technical difficulties. We have hopefully recovered from them, and if my wireless 4G holds out, then we will be okay. Let us move in. What do I have? Oh yes, our resource of the week. Now, yes, I'm going to be a shameless self-promoter again this week because I get asked from a lot of people. I asked earlier in the show, if you're just joining us, for people's advice on what the best Mac is. So the not the best, but the best entry-level Mac for creating music in GarageBand. So if you have feedback on that, please drop it in the comments at the end of the show. But I've got a couple of web pages that are my recommendations for iPhone and iPad. So if you're creating music in GarageBand or in any platform on your iPhone or your iPad, you can head over to my guide. My iPad guide is at studiolivetoday.com/iPad, and my iPhone guide is at, not surprisingly, studiolivetoday.com/iPhone. And what I have there is it's taken me a long time to put together, so I hope you appreciate it, but it's a PDF guide. So there's some links in there and some tips about what you should look for. So screen size, memory size, storage size, all of those sort of things, and what devices are compatible with the latest version of iOS. But then the handiest part is the little PDF document I have there. I have one for iPhone, one for iPad, and that PDF document has every different iPad and iPhone that has ever been made. So if you go to the iPad guide, it'll be everything from the first generation right down to the latest third gen iPad Pro, and you can see the specs. You can see the memory, the storage size, the processor, like all of that stuff that when Apple put it out there, they're like, it's got a 12.9-inch screen. And that's about it. They don't tell you the other thing. They don't tell you the range of storage capacity. They definitely don't tell you things like they might say, oh, it's got an A12 Fusion processor. They don't tell you how many cores that processor has. They don't tell you how much RAM is on board, which is super important for audio recording. And they don't tell you what connectivity options there are. Is it Lightning? Is it USB-C? All of that information and more is over at my iPad guide. And the iPhone guide's even funnier because it goes all the way back to the first iPhone 1 through the iPhone 3, 3G, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 9. 9 didn't exist. 10 or X and 11. And then when the iPhone 12 comes out with no ports whatsoever, then I'll be throwing that one up there as well. And then saying, good luck connecting things to it. We'll see how we go. Alrighty. We are at the end, towards the end of the show here. So we'll see if we've got any final comments from other folks here. So we've got some love for the RoughRider 3 plugin. So Metallion58 also loves RoughRider 3. SM Borthwick says RoughRider 2 a little prone to crashing. RoughRider 3 is better in that respect. Or is it? Yes, I haven't had crashes with the Fuzz Plus from Audio Damage. I have problems with crashing with that, and I think they've actually pulled that down at the moment. They may be fixing it up. Maybe we'll see a Fuzz Plus 2 coming out soon. But the RoughRider 2 I didn't have too many problems with. But RoughRider 3, yeah, I've been playing with it recently, seems super stable. We've got a question. Where do you put the beat on iOS? So I can get the soundings instrumental. GarageBand is what I use. That's what this show is all about. On iOS, I've got a heap of tutorials. So yeah, just head to the page and search for, making a beat, creating instrumentals. You'll find a heap of stuff there. Brooke A, hello to you. Do you have any tips on how to add a more human element to a piano recording on GarageBand, possibly a plugin? No, and that's actually a good point because there are plenty of ways to quantize it and to make it sound less human. Sound less human. Make it sound more human is tricky because you almost have to play it in and build in a little bit of a human touch, build in some mistakes to your track. So if anyone has tips for that, for making things sound more human, then yeah, please let us know. What I basically do is to make it sound human, I play it in and then I don't quantize, and that kind of does the trick for me. But yeah, if you're just sort of lining up a piano part, I guess just moving the starts and finishes a little bit. I've never really done it that way around, but that would be one way to go. Question here from Sion. Did you get to try Jam Session on iOS devices? Jam Session is the one thing, I think I can safely say, the one thing in all of GarageBand that I've never tried. So Jam Session, what that is you get 2 or more iOS devices and you load up GarageBand, and then via Bluetooth, you can play together. Now, it sounds cool until you realize the latency that Bluetooth has. But that being said, I probably need to take my own advice and actually try it. So instead of just saying, oh, it must be bad, maybe I need to actually try it myself and see what happens. So yeah, maybe that is something that I need to do. I need to talk to my daughter and get her to help me out, and we can jam along. She's playing the drums, so she can jam along with me, and I'll play some virtual guitar, and maybe we'll start a Partridge Family, John's Family style band. That could be kind of fun. Thank you, folks. If you've been here live, thank you. If you got some value out of this, if you had a bit of fun, if you enjoyed the background and the scenery, then hit the like button. That just tells me I should make these videos every week and keep doing this show. If you do have any questions or other comments, please drop those down in the comments section. You can, of course, go to studiolivetoday.com to find out all of the things that are happening here on the channel and find ways to get in touch with me and follow me on all the various social platforms. Until next week, we'll see you next time.